All right, guys, it is finally time. It is finally the day we are going to swap out the bumper on my Z06 with an official Z07 bumper. I'm tired of playing games with the hole covers. I'm tired of doing all that stuff. I've been moving towards making my car as close to an actual Z07 as possible. The next step, right here. The bumper. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Like you saw there in the beginning, we are in fact finally doing the Z07 bumper on the Z06. Like I said, I'm tired of messing around with the hole covers. They either work or don't work and they don't look that great, or whatever the case may be. I'm tired of it at this point. I want this to be as officially a Z07 as possible, and minus it being a Z07 on paper, it's a Z07 at this point. So adding this bumper on is just basically the final touch, and the cost is pretty decent. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's do all of it today and finally get this thing to Z07 status. All right, real quick, guys, I realized while I was editing this video, there was a couple things I didn't put in the video that I wanted to talk about. Number one, the biggest one being where I got this bumper. I actually bought it straight from GM. There's a website that will get you the parts from GM and also allow you to use your GM points and pick it up at a local dealership. I'll link it in the description down below. That's ultimately what I did. The cost of the bumper was around $500 to $70 after a coupon and my GM points that I added on. I think I only spent around $70 on the bumper. The GM points don't allow you to apply to tax, so that's all I really paid for the bumper. And then I picked it up at the local dealership that is about 5 minutes from my house, so it was very convenient to get it. It only took about a week and a half to come in, which was really good because these things are typically on back order, but in this case, it was ready to go pretty quickly. I then had my brother-in-law paint it, and after PPF, this bumper looks absolutely amazing, so we went ahead with the install. Where we're going to start here is you're going to see the car is already up in the air, the wheels are already off, and the wheel liners are out. That's because this car has been in mod mode, so to speak, for the last 3 weeks or so, where I left it up in the air with the wheels off and the wheel liners out from when we did the struts and the Z07 springs. I didn't put any of it back together because I knew it would be easier to access the bumper bolts with the fender liners out, so there was no point in putting everything back together only to rip it apart again. So you're not going to see that stuff happening because it already happened in previous videos and I just left it that way. When I put you back in the video, we're going to jump straight into the actual bumper removal with all of these things already done. Here we go. All right, so we are in the process of removing the bumper. There's a bunch of videos out there showing this process, so I don't know that I'm going to get too in depth with this, but once we get the bumper off, that's when we're going to start moving everything over to the new bumper, which is, as you can see, a Z07 style bumper. So no more messing around with hole covers and all that junk. I'm just going straight to the source. This is going to be a Z07. So in here, you can kind of see the bolts, maybe. There's 3 bolts right in this area here. 3 nuts we have to take off, kind of right in the split of the bumper here. We're going to start there, 3 on each side. Then there's a bunch of T15s on the bottom. And really, that's pretty much it, minus the T15s on the inside here, too. So all of the T15s we've already removed around the trim of the bumper. So that's pretty much all you have to do to get the bumper off. Bunch of T15s on the top. There's a 7mm in here and a 10 somewhere in here, I believe, as well, but it's right in this split area. And then a bunch of T15s again on the bottom. And then we can pretty much take the bumper off, minus 2 electrical connections that we'll have to undo while we have the bumper off, but still like supported by our arms while we're removing those electrical connectors. Then we're going to take that bumper, we're going to set it on this table after we clean it off, and start swapping all the parts from that one over to the new painted Z07 bumper. You can see stock holes, no extra holes on the outside. It's the way to do it.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, he's something. Anyway, the first screw he just removed is in fact a 7mm. The second one is also a 7mm. The third one is 10mm. You'll need a deep socket for that one.
It's just a nut.
Okay, last one is a 10mm nut. So we will now do that same thing on the other side. And then underneath the car, there are actually a couple 7mm screws, not T15s. Now yours is going to be a little bit different looking than this because this has the GTZ diffuser from RSC on it. Once this is off, we're pretty much free to go ahead and pull the bumper. All right, so we got all the screws out of the crease right here, all the screws out from the top, which were a bunch of T15s, some 7mm bolts up underneath. We're now ready to go ahead and remove the bumper. So this is going to be a decent amount of just yanking and then disconnecting the 2 electrical connectors. So we should start here, pull out. Watch the fender though. All right, I'm free over here. You ready for it to fall?
Hold on. All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
Those electrical connectors need to undone.
Yeah, they're putting pressure. That's why I'm holding it. There you go.
Okay. Now,
this is going over here.
You got all three off? It wasn't that. He was bending in toward.
so bumper's off, and I don't know if you could tell or not, but there is a lot happening back here. Brandon from Brandon's Garage kind of told me this was a little bit more than you might think, and there is a lot going on. So obviously 2 taillights, center brake light, a lot of wire harnessing here for the blind spot notifications, which are on both sides, the backup sensors. The diffuser itself has to come off. Obviously yours will have to as well, but this one's the carbon fiber one from RSC, so it's, you know, carbon fiber is a little more difficult to work with than plastic. There's no give to carbon fiber. So there's a lot of wiring, mostly just wiring and wiring harness things that have to come off. But like I said, the taillight's got to come out. It looks like a 7mm screw for those. Third brake light. And then of course the area right here where your push button is to pop the trunk, the light for the license plate, this has to come out. Yeah, so a good bit of stuff happening in the back of this bumper, more than you'd think. I think I'm going to start with the taillights though. So we'll grab a 7mm and start working those out. The passenger side taillight. There's a bunch of 7mm screws. We're just going to pop all these out. And actually we'll go ahead and disconnect this taillight first. Boy, GM and their connectors, I'll tell you what. Nothing makes you feel more like an idiot than trying to remove a connector from GM. That's it. So she should come out. So we'll take the taillight out, and
There's a connector there.
actually there's a harness on it, so we're gonna have to remove that harness piece to remove these.
Oh, never mind.
All right, so with that clip out, pull it towards you, should come right out. Taillight's out. I think now we'll move on to the center taillight. Same 7mm too, so you don't really have to watch where any of these go.
Your tray's right there.
So that's ready to come out. Now we just need to disconnect electrical, which is the red pin, push down, pop it out, which obviously is much easier than it, or much harder than it sounds.
I hate these
Because
things.
GM connectors.
I freaking hate them.
So center taillight's out. Now we'll move on to the driver's side taillight. So same kind of thing, 7mm bolts. Again, all the same 7mm bolts. And it's working on the famous electrical connectors.
I love them.
If you're not breaking them, you're not working on them. Look, with that said, we haven't broken anything yet, so.
Fortunately, we didn't break it.
That's why GM is a parts store.
Yeah. So there goes the driver's side taillight. The next thing we're going to do is going to be this module right here, which is actually for your blind spot. You'll have one on each side of the bumper if you have at least a 2LZ car. Basically, we're going to pop that electrical connector and work on these things to... Oh, gee, Dana got his right out. No such luck for me, though. Let's see. Can you do it twice?
Yes.
Gotta love it. So the bolt holding this in is a T25. Just right down here, there's only one that I can see at least. So we'll take that out. Then this whole module is going to be swapped into the new bumper, but there are clips on the side. You'll have to pop those out. And there is the start of a harness right here where we'll start popping all this stuff out. I don't know if these are side specific, but keep track of them. This is the driver's side one. I'll make sure I put this on the bumper immediately just so I don't lose track of the fact that this is the driver's side one.
Take
You
your
release the
take
side
your
with
hand,
thumb.
release them a little bit,
He'll do the bottom.
and then it just pops
Oh,
out.
there you go. All right, magic.
So this one is which side? Does it matter?
I think so. It's driver's side. And on the new bumper, we just pop those in. You literally can just slide it into the top and then push the back part down. It just pops right in. And then, of course, we'll put that T25 screw back in there, too. So, for the most part, we're done with screws on the top part here, at least. The diffuser will have a couple 7mm screws left in it, but what we're going to do next is start removing the wire harness because that's really going to be the majority of the work here. All these little Christmas tree style connectors that are holding this in. You're really going to need a tool, something like this. It's kind of the tool you're going to need for this because the way it works, it's metal and it allows you to get enough leverage to just pop these things out. So something like that, you're going to need it. All right, so we're going to start right here. I'm just going to start popping out these Christmas tree connectors that are zip tied onto the wire harness. We're just going to do this until there's none left. I mean, there's not really any special way to do this. Pop all these out. Kind of remember where the wires went, because we're going to be moving that over to the new bumper, obviously. So I took a picture of all this just so I'll have a good idea of how it's laid out.
I was just going to say, suggestion, take pictures of everything.
Yep. Really the only bit of electrical connections left are the backup sensors. And we're going to leave them in the diffuser because the diffuser is going to be on the new bumper. But these heat grills on the back, which you can see right there, that I'm going to take out because we're replacing these grills with carbon fiber ones. So we're going to pop that entire sensor out. So basically there's just two wings on these things. You just kind of pull them apart and pop that out. Just like that. So that connector is going to be staying with the harness because, like I said, we're not taking the grills out. Oh, those are a little tight.
Were you able to get it?
Yeah.
Much easier using two.
Okay. The doctor has figured it out. Two pry tools.
Better than none.
Well, you're supporting that other one when you do that, you know?
Yeah. Look at that.
So yeah,
Easy.
much easier when you get
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna disconnect this just because I don't think it's probably great for this thing to be getting
jarred around.
Jarred around. So we are going to disconnect this backup sensor and put it into the new piece.
And hopefully people have a garage working like we're lucky right now, because as of Pittsburgh weather, looks like it's about to pour down rain.
Yep. So he is going to work on removing the rest of that harness. I'm going to come over to the new bumper and show you what we're going to be changing here. Obviously, that is a new piece. So this is carbon fiber through and through. You can buy this from my store, link in the description down below, but you can check on the back here. It is carbon fiber back here as well. So we need to pop the backup sensor into that location to get it ready for this. This will be on the passenger side here. Then once Dana's done removing that harness over there, we'll be able to pop this into place and connect it. It will work just like it did on the stock unit. So these actually weigh a little bit less than the stock unit. These aren't saving you a whole bunch of weight, but it is slightly lighter, plus it's going to look pretty cool. Just like that. Got it popped in the back, and it is ready for installation and the harness to be plugged back in. So we got the harness completely detached. So now we're going to kind of try to remember where things go, pick it up out of there, and put it into the new bumper. Yep. So putting it down in there basically the same way it was in the other one, just so we have a general idea of where things go, and we can kind of start plugging things in just to hold the harness in place. So I'm going to start up here just to connect something in so we have a good idea of where the harness goes. So from here you can see the holes where the Christmas tree connectors go back into. I do, however, one more time want to touch on these guys. Carbon fiber rear bumper vents. This is really the last bit of carbon flash that's on my car is going to be replaced with these carbon fiber vents. These are going to pop right into the bumper. I'm not even going to take them out of my stock bumper because we're using these, but it is still reusing, you can see the carbon flash there of the backup sensor. So these will just pop right into place. I already have the driver's side one popped down. Uses the same clips, and that's that. So there it is, popped into place. We're going to start with the wire harness right after we get the module for the trunk pop camera. We got to get that module out and over into the new bumper first, then we can start putting in all the wire harnessing. One thing to keep in mind is you are going to have to transplant some of these screw inserts. Some of them on your factory bumper are going to have to go over to the new bumper. So what Dana's working on there currently, you can see right there is a screw insert. That has to pop out and go into the new bumper. So the button for the trunk popping and your camera, it pops through the bumper. So once you take the two 8mm screws out, you actually have to push it down through the bumper. And in this case, Dana's reinstalling it. You got to install it from the backside and push it up through until these little metal connectors kind of pop into place. Once you basically slide it up into place, you'll reuse the stock back brackets here that will go just like that. And then a 8mm nut will go on top of it to kind of hold it in place. While he's tightening that up, Bill is actually actively removing the screw inserts from the stock bumper so we can pop these into the Z07 bumper on a couple places that these don't come pre-installed. The key to removing these is a tiny little screwdriver to kind of pry them out. So first place we're going to need one is right up here actually. So you'll see the square hole right there. Just take these speed nuts, or screw inserts, pop them down in there. You'll feel them pop into place, and now you have something to screw the 7mm screws that hold the third brake light in. You have something to screw that into. So now with all those in, we can now go ahead and put in the third brake light as well. Now this right here is my F1 brake flashing module. In case you guys are wondering, you might not have that. Now we can start putting in the 7mm. All of these are the same again, guys, so there's not anything you have to keep in mind. We'll start putting in the third brake light, the tail lights, and then we'll start running all the harnessing down again. We're now just pushing in the harness on all of the spots where the harness needs to be connected so it's not in the way. Working on getting the screw inserts out so we have enough. There's a good bit of these that go into the bumper, so make sure you take out as many out of your old bumpers as you can. Those will hold in things like the third brake light and even the tail lights. So since those are the new carbon fiber inserts, it's going to be a little bit different. They do have the spot still for the harness to be popped into, the Christmas tree kind of connector. Pretty much everything should be exactly like it was on your stock bumper. You're just kind of clipping everything back in as you go. Got to put the speed nuts in for the taillight to be able to get screwed down in. Speed nuts, screw inserts, whatever these things are called, they have to come out of your old bumper into the new one unless you buy a bunch of them from GM, which wouldn't be a bad idea either. All right, so with the speed nuts or whatever in there, we're able to go ahead and drop the taillight in. So we got the taillight in here. It was a little bit of a process because this bumper hasn't actually been formed to the car yet, so it's a little bit flatter than it needs to be. So you got to kind of actually flex the bumper a little bit to get all the holes to line up where they need to go. That's just a little bit of a tip, I guess. We'll show you what I mean on the driver's side taillight here. So even without the flexing that Dana's doing right there, we weren't even able to get the taillight to seat down in there.
Perfect. Beautiful.
All right, so like I said, just make sure you're flexing the bumper a little bit if you're having difficulty with that taillight going in. One more thing we got to remove is the little corner pieces here that have the heat shielding on them. It's kind of the air pass through on the bumper. There is what looks like 4 7mm screws that hold it on. There's one on each side.
The one that's inside.
Yeah. That's going to be a little bit hard to get with the diffuser right there, but you might have to use a
wrench.
Yeah.
You got a 7.
So the last bolt he's working on would be a lot easier to remove if the diffuser was already off, but it is what it is. So once that is off, it's just basically a cup. It will go on the new bumper. All right, so we got one of the triangles out, and it will go like this back in here or something. Yeah, so we'll go like this right back in here. So it'll kind of complete the pass through there. And outside of just the nut inserts, we also have one of these, which is like a speed clip kind of thing. It has to slide in right here. There you go. Same thing over on the passenger side. Tighten that down, 7mm, and then we're about ready to pull the diffuser off. So the diffuser, most of this will be the same as yours, even if you don't have the RSC carbon fiber diffuser like I do here. There's going to be a 7mm screw right there on both sides. Then the rest of it is mostly these clips right here that we will just use a small screwdriver and pop out. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all that's holding your diffuser on. All right, so everything's a mess, but the old bumper's there. The new bumper is here with everything transferred over, everything cleaned up. The new carbon fiber heat grills installed on the back, which you'll see in a second. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing installed back on the car with the Z07 wing, of course, RSC carbon fiber Z07 wing, RSC GTZ diffuser underbody panel that continues the diffuser fins underneath the car as well. Still beautiful carbon fiber, even though you'll never see it. That all of this has to be put back on the car, and then we can finally drop it down and finally have it be a full Z07 car, including the Z07 bumper. Look at that. No holes, no covers, no gains. Definitely a fair amount of work here though, guys. This was a little bit more involved than you would think with just swapping a bumper. The carbon fiber heat grill area here is going to match the diffuser really nicely, but these things right here where you pop the backup sensors into, kind of tricky, a little bit tricky. You got to really work with those to get those things in there right, because that's real hard, like plastic that they snap into. So that took a little bit of a minute, you know, kind of a skilled hand to get that done. The diffuser onto the bumper fits really well. Typical RSC quality, it fits perfectly. The problem, however, just like I said with the taillights, the bumper hasn't been on a car yet, so it doesn't have that fully like U shape to it. So we kind of had to squeeze the bumper together a little bit for this to fit right. And if you know carbon fiber, you know there is no give to carbon fiber. So if you're trying to put that on something that's flopping around like a wet paper bag, it's gonna be, we'll say, interesting. Luckily, I had Dana and Bill both here. It took about 3 people to get this done. And it will take at least 2 people to remove and put the bumper back on, because, not because it's difficult, but just because it's big. So it's gonna take an extra hand to line everything up. I did also use this opportunity to clean my AWE exhaust tips. But anyway, guys, that's it. We are ready to roll. So the next shot I'm gonna show you here is gonna be this bumper back on the car. All right, so we are all done. I did, what, 99% of this myself?
Of course.
Yeah. So
I don't ever do
barely helped at all. Didn't help in the slightest. No, I'm just kidding. These guys helped out a lot. So we got everything done, and you guys have seen, the car has been up on Quick Jacks for about 3 weeks, almost a month. And we finally got the new Z07 bumper in place, the Z07 wing in place. So now there's no more games with the whole covers or anything like that. And that's that. So obviously I got to put my license plate on still, and I'm going to be taking this to Blackout 10 to get it PPF'd here really soon. But that is done. It's final. It's finished. Love it. What do you think? Worth the work?
Of course.
Of course. Especially whenever he did most of it. No.
No, I didn't do any of it.
He barely did anything.
Barely did anything.
But seriously, this is the way the car should look. Ultimately, this was the last piece of the puzzle. This is now officially an entirely Z07 car. There is nothing about this car anymore that's just Z06.
And Justin is now in Z07 heaven.
Yeah, Z07 heaven. There you go. I like it. If that wasn't too long, I'd put that on the license plate, because if you guys don't know, when I went to order this car, I wanted a Z07, and literally every single step that I've taken with this car to this point was to get a Z07. And now it is final. The springs, the bumper, the only thing left would be the Sport Cup 2R tires, but honestly, I would have replaced those anyway, even if this was a real Z07, with the Sport 4S's, because they're a better all-around tire in my opinion. But at the end of the day, everything on this car is now Z07. It's still Z06 on paper, of course, I get that. The mag calibration, yeah. Mag ride calibration, I'm not even 100% sure I'm going to do that. Even if I can do it, I don't know if I need to, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, all of the parts on the car are now officially Z07, so that's that. All right, so that's it, guys. Thumbs up if you liked what you saw. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always,
stay obsessed.